You got a cute way of talking. You've got the better of me. Just snap your fingers and I'm walking. Hang it on, la-dee-dee-dee. You've put a spell on me, like do-da-boo want to be. You make me feel like dancing. I wanna dance the night away. You make me feel like dancing. Okay, hey, BOOZHOO. Welcome back to BOOZHOO, NANABOOZHOO. My name is Natasha Nindisha. Now please welcome the star of the show, NANABOOZHOO. Take it away, baby. Hey, BOOZHOO. Welcome back to the show. And today's OJIBWE word of the day. You know, I was thinking might be a good word today. What's that? I was thinking Miigwechiwi-Giizhigad. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Miigwechiwi-Giizhigad. Thanksgiving Day. And this is the story of the first Thanksgiving. So back in the days of the grandfathers, it was like 100 years after Columbus landed on, Haiti or whatever. And the story, the way they kind of tell it in schools is sort of the same way. Have you noticed this? Where it's like, oh, this is the beginning of the end. This is a day of mourning. In 2007, the Seattle School District, they were like, Thanksgiving Day is a time of mourning because it is the beginning of the Holocaust of Native American people. You're like, geez, you really know how to suck the fun out of a feast. But here's a story. Oh, and they also tell you this in school to be like, oh yeah, the Pilgrims, they weren't so great. They were escaping religious persecution only to come here and then persecute the Native Americans. Isn't it ironic? Well, the real story and the reason why Squanto should be, on the $20 bill or whatever. How come we don't celebrate Squanto Day? Because the story is the Puritans, the guys with the belt buckle on their hats, they were from England. And they were way too too religious. They wanted to be pure. And the Church of England was like, no, man, you guys got to be Catholics. They're like, no, we're the Puritans. We're not even going to dance. No dancing and no drinking. We're the Puritans. So they had to escape to, where are the Dutch? Holland. They went to Holland. And they lived there for 10 years. And then they were like, holy man, this is even worse than England. We want to be Puritans. We want to be pure. This, really strict religious group. And our kids, we're living near Amsterdam. I mean, weed is legal and they're going to corrupt our youth. So we're going to go to the promised land, to a place where we'll have religious freedom. We'll go to Manhattan, which was like the Algonquin word for that area. So the day came. It was like 1621 or something. And they built this big boat. And they called the boat the Mayflower. They were like, we're going to sail the seas and go to a place where we'll be free to be really uptight. We're going to be the Puritans. And, but what happens? A big old storm comes up and it blows the ship off course. And they land on a place called Plymouth. Plymouth Rock. And they get out the boat and they're like, hey, look over there. There's a village. Let's go see what's up. And they went over there. And there were all these, I don't know if they were teepees or wigwams or what. And like there was a bunch of corn in storage and they had fresh water. I'm like, oh wow, it's all set up. This is a perfect place to start a settlement. How come there's no people here? Well, the people were the Wampanoags. It was a tribe that had been wiped out by smallpox. But before the diseases came in, there was a young boy named Squanto who was down, he was down shore a bit, and he was helping some Englishmen haul in some stuff from their ships. And what happens? Oh wow, they grab them and they chain them up and they bring them back to England and they sell them into slavery. And for years, Squanto, this poor Wampanoag who was stolen from his tribe, lived in servitude. Well, somehow he gets away and he goes to Spain and he lives in a monastery. And when he's living with these monks, he learns English and he converts to Christianity. So, you know, stuff happens, but eventually Squanto makes it back. He comes all the way back over the ocean and he makes it back to his village. And he walks in there and he's like, oh, wow, what happened? Where's my tribe? And that's when he learned that the disease had wiped out everybody. His grandma, his grandpa, his mom and dad, his cousins, his uncles and aunts, everybody. He was the only one left. And he goes up to the guy and he's like, hey, you guys, what are you doing here living in our neighborhood? All my relatives have died off and you just moved in? And the dude's like, oh, wow, how do you know how to speak English? He goes, oh, I've been living in a monastery. I know English and I know how to speak the native language here. And the guy goes, well, we're like super religious Christian people. We're the Puritans. And he goes, oh, you think you're religious? I've been living in a monastery. I'm religious and I speak English. So because of that, they became friends. And they started hanging out, you know. I forget the white guy's name. But then eventually, Squanto hooks up the white settlers with the local tribe. And they get together. And the Puritans, they make up some turkeys and some corn and bread. And Indian guys, they killed a whole bunch of deer and they brought the deer in. And then they had this big feast together. And there was like 90 Indians and like 60 white people. And they all had this huge feast. And Squanto, you know, when they talked about it, it was like, Squanto was this gift from God. He was the only person in the entire country who could understand the Puritans. He knew their language and understand the native people. He somehow came to that very place where these Puritans were accidentally shipwrecked, Plymouth Rock. So the weird thing is that, you know, the hardcore Puritans, they're like, oh, it's Thanksgiving, we should fast. It is a day of fasting and giving thanks for, you know, to God. The rest of us are like, hey, man, let's overeat and then watch football. And this is the story of the first Thanksgiving Day. Bezhigo, Miigwechiwi-Giizhigad. Sweetie, will you send us out? Yeah, sure. Well, everybody, I just want to say, Miigwechiwi-Giizhigad. Thank you for watching BOOZHOO, NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Natasha. This is NANABOOZHOO. Give us a thumbs up if you like the show. Give us a thumbs down if you hated the show. Nah. And hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to order some books, by Michael Lyons, he's got some Ojibwe language children's books and coloring books and comic books for sale on Amazon. All right. I will see you again. GOFUNDME. Hawa!